Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, we're jumping straight in today because, wow, what a result to talk about. The 2025 FA Cup final. Crystal Palace, stunning Manchester City.
Absolutely seismic. We've got the match reports, all the analysis here from Sky Sports, BBC Sport. And the plan today, really, is to dig into how this actually happened.
Yeah, more than just the 1-0 scoreline.
Exactly. Understand those key moments and what this means, for Palace
Hmm?
and, well, for everyone else, too.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's Wembley Stadium, Saturday, May 17th, 2025. Packed house, over 84,000 fans there.
And they saw something pretty special. Crystal Palace beat Manchester City 1-0, their first ever major trophy. Ever.
That's huge. You think about Palace fans, they've seen heartbreak in finals before, haven't they? 1990, 2016.
Well, absolutely. Those losses must make this feel even sweeter. It's genuinely historic for the club.
So the moment that wins it, it actually came pretty early.
At 16 minutes in, Eberedi Eze. That's the name they'll remember.
Okay, break down that goal for us. How did it happen?
Well, it was Daniel Munoz. Great work down the right side. Really powered down the wing.
Right.
Put in a low cross, hard and low into the middle. And Eze was right there. Just swept it in. Good finish.
And Eze, he'd been important throughout the cup run, hadn't he? Not just the final.
Oh, definitely. Scored in the quarterfinal, scored in the semifinal, too. Clearly a player for the big moments. He really delivered for them.
But it wasn't just about that one goal, was it? The game had loads of other incidents, controversies.
Absolutely. Could have gone very differently. One of the big talking points was Dean Henderson, the Palace keeper.
Ah, yes, the handball outside the box.
That's the one. Came charging out, challenged Holland, handled the ball well outside his area.
It looks like a possible red card situation, or at least City probably thought so.
You'd think so. But VAR looked at it.
Hmm.
The decision was Holland wasn't denied a clear goal-scoring opportunity. Apparently, he was moving slightly away from goal, so no red card, just a yellow, I think. Roy Keane actually said afterwards, you sometimes need that bit of luck in a cup final. Palace maybe got it there.
City fans probably wouldn't call it luck. But okay, the drama didn't stop there. There was a penalty for City.
Yep, just before halftime. Tyrick Mitchell brought down Bernardo Silva inside the area. Clear penalty.
And Haaland didn't take it.
No, interestingly, Omar Murcius stepped up. Reports said Haaland gave him the ball, offered him the chance.
Right. How did that go?
Henderson saved it, dived the right way, pushed it away. Huge moment in the game.
Wow.
And Henderson actually mentioned after the match he felt confident he'd saved one at that end before. Psychology, eh?
Definitely. Huge boost for Palace going into the break. There was a disallowed goal, too.
Yeah. Second half, about 58 minutes in, Daniel Munoz again thought he'd got a second for Palace. Offside, flag went up straight away. VAR confirmed it. Looked pretty tight, but ruled out.
And even late on, City were pushing hard. Henderson's still busy.
Oh, yeah. He was immense. Claudio Echeverri, young lad making his debut for City, looked lively. Had a couple of decent efforts late on.
Saved.
Both saved by Henderson. Kept Palace's lead intact right at the death. Incredible performance from him.
Clearly the standout player. Player of the match from Sky. BBC users gave him a 9.08 rating, which is massive.
Totally deserved. Think about it. The handball escape, the penalty save, those late stops. He was just brilliant. Rock solid.
Loved his quote about the VAR check, too. The who cares, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, just totally focused on the win. And quite emotional, too. Dedicated the win to his dad who passed away. Adds that human touch, doesn't it?
It really does. And Eze, obviously the goal scorer, also got high praise, right? BBC users had him at 8.95.
Yeah, fantastic performance from him, too. You saw his reaction at full time. Totally overcome. This is special. Thank God I couldn't breathe. Just pure emotion.
Sounds like a real team effort, though. Munoz involved in the goal, nearly scored another, got an 8.55 rating. The defense must have been superb.
They were so organized, so disciplined, which, contrasts a bit with City's setup.
How so?
Well, City went very attacking, didn't start with a proper holding midfielder. Maybe they underestimated Palace's ability to dig in and hit on the break.
And for Pep Guardiola, this is unusual territory, isn't it?
It really is. First time in his 8 years at City that he's finished a season without winning a major trophy. That's quite a run ending.
Wow. And Haaland still hasn't scored at Wembley in these big finals.
That stat keeps coming up, yeah. Another final without a goal for him. Just wasn't City's day, really.
Tactically, then, Palace got it spot on. Defend deep, counter effectively.
Pretty much textbook for an underdog win, executed brilliantly. Wayne Rooney said something like, "Sometimes things are meant to be. Palace were outstanding." Sums it up, really.
And the reactions told the story, too. Keane saying Palace deserved it.
Yeah, you did. Ian Dennis on 5 Live called it Crystal Palace's day in the sun. Perfect description. Sean Dyche praised the manager, the players.
And Clinton Morrison, Palace legend, must have been emotional.
Oh, absolutely. You can hear it in his voice, apparently. Just what it meant after all the near misses.
What about the managers? Blasner. How did he react?
Remarkably calm, actually. Just walked over, shook Pep's hand. Very composed amidst the celebrations.
Really?
Yeah. And there was a funny moment later, Henderson doing an interview, and Jean-Philippe Mateta just crashing it, all joy and celebration. Showed the team's spirit.
Brilliant stuff. So, historic day for Palace, first major trophy, but this win, it sends ripples, doesn't it? Especially for European places.
Huge ripples. This is where it gets interesting for other clubs. Because Palace won the FA Cup, they get a Europa League spot automatically.
Right.
Which means teams like Brentford, Brighton, Bournemouth, Fulham, their route into Europe might have just changed or even closed.
Okay, so walk us through how the European qualification works now, after this result.
Okay, so the Premier League got an extra Champions League spot this season because English clubs did well in Europe.
Right, so top 5 get Champions League.
Exactly. Top 5 in the league go to the Champions League. Now, normally, 5th place would get a Europa League spot.
But that's now a Champions League spot.
Precisely. So the Europa League spot that usually goes to 5th now drops down to 6th place in the league.
Okay.
And the other Europa League spot is the one allocated to the FA Cup winners, which is now Crystal Palace.
Got it. So 6th place gets Europa League, Palace gets Europa League. What about the Conference League?
Well, that spot usually goes to the League Cup winner. But because Liverpool won that and will qualify for the Champions League via the league, that Conference League spot passes down the league table too.
So 7th place.
Almost certainly 7th place gets the Conference League spot now, because Palace, the FA Cup winners, finished outside those top European spots in the league.
So the big loser here potentially is 8th place.
Exactly. If City had won the FA Cup and finished in the top 5, then their FA Cup Europa League spot would have passed down the league, potentially giving 7th the Europa League and maybe even 8th the Conference League. But because Palace won, they take that Europa League spot directly. So no European football for 8th place this season. That Palace win really shook things up for those teams around 6th, 7th, 8th.
Huge knock-on effect. Okay, back to City for a moment. Obviously a massive blow. 2nd FA Cup final loss in a row.
Yeah, that'll sting. And the first trophyless season since 2016-17. But look, they can't dwell on it too much.
Why is that?
They still need to secure that top 5 finish in the league. They haven't mathematically guaranteed Champions League football yet. That has to be their immediate focus now. Missing out on that would be unthinkable for them.
And there's talk about players maybe leaving City, too. Adds another layer.
There always is at big clubs.
Yeah.
Kevin De Bruyne, was this his last Wembley game for City? Bernardo Silva's future is often speculated about.
Right.
This loss probably doesn't help quite in that talk, but honestly, their main job right now is nailing down that top 5 spot in the league games they have left.
Okay, so wrapping this up. Crystal Palace, an incredible historic FA Cup win. Eze's goal, Henderson saves. They get their first major trophy.
And in doing so, they've completely changed the European qualification picture for several other Premier League clubs. A huge moment for Palace, a real headache for City, and big consequences down the table.
It really shows how one result, one unexpected 90 minutes can reverberate, doesn't it?
Absolutely. What does this do for Palace moving forward? How does City bounce back from a season without silverware? Those are the big questions now. Fascinating stuff.
Definitely. If you get a chance, absolutely check out the highlights of this one or read some of the tactical pieces. It really was a final for the ages. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.